Do you want to know the secrets to winning more games in Warzone? Do you want to know how to raise your KD with clean and tactical play in Warzone? Well, today, we have a very special video for you. What is up, ProGuides family? It is your host, Sergeant Frost, and today, we are bringing you 8 tips for Warzone in Season 1. But before we get into the video, you guys know what time it is. That is right, it is time for our question of the day. Today's question is, what Cold War guns do you think need to be buffed in Warzone? Personally, I would like to see the LW3 Sniper and the QBZ get a buff to bring them up to speed with the meta. Let us know in the comment section down below what your thoughts are. Now, let's get right into the video. Starting off this video strong, our first and most important tip we can give to Warzone players is to prioritize landing safely and away from people. Even though hot dropping looks fun and exciting when your favorite streamer or content creator does it, landing in an area crowded with people is not only counterproductive, but it is also the easiest way to get knocked out of a match, no matter how good of a player you are. In order to have a fighting chance at making it to the end game, you need to land safely away from other players, and you will need to prioritize landing in areas that have a high chance at an abundance of loot as well. As a competitive Warzone player, I always manage to keep my kill-death ratio above 3, and I am consistently able to make it to final circles with less than 15 players. And I do this just by practicing restraint when dropping and learning how to prioritize landing at spots that historically have a lot of loot. In my opinion, a few places that are typically unpopulated when it comes to common drop spots are prison, dam, hills, and lumber. Drop spots like these that don't draw too much attention from players are perfect spots to loot up, find a vehicle, and head for the inner circle. If you want more help learning about how you can improve your gameplay in COD, make sure to keep an eye out on ProGuides' social medias, website, and our YouTube channels to learn how you can get access to COD coaching coming soon. Now that you know how important landing safely is in order to win games in Warzone, this will lead us to our second tip, which will help you stack up your cash quickly. And that tip is take advantage of the contracts that are around you. Contracts are the easiest, fastest, and safest way to gather large amounts of cash in the Warzone. The only other two options you have besides contracts are fragging enemy players and taking their stash, or finding cash on the ground and in crates as you traverse the map. Now that you've landed at your safe spot to start the match, you're going to want to loot up and find cash so that you can head to a buy station and start kitting yourself up. Some of the best contracts to get cash and gear quickly are the bounty contracts and the recon contracts. Both of these contracts will reward you with an abundance of cash, and the recon contract will let you see the next circle, and it will give you free guns, cash and armor, and utility. Another contract that will get you large sums of money as well is the most wanted contract. But beware, when you take this contract, you will become public enemy number 1 to all enemy players on the map. Learn to take contracts that are beneficial to you and your squad in order to maximize your cash flow and give yourself a chance to win the final circle in the endgame. Moving into our third tip of the day, we will talk about a crucial piece of utility that every player needs to have in the Warzone. And that piece of utility is the heartbeat sensor. Knowledge is key in Warzone when it comes to surviving as long as possible. And having knowledge on the enemy player's locations is even more imperative for surviving and setting up advantageous gunfights for you and your team. The heartbeat sensor is a mini UAV in your pocket when navigating around Verdansk. As long as the enemies don't have the cold-blooded perk and they are within 50 feet of you, they will show up on your heartbeat sensor. Heartbeat sensors are great tools to use to check houses, behind walls, and it is great for keeping track of players who may be on different levels of buildings that you are also in. Make sure you equip the heartbeat sensor in your tactical slot for all of your loadouts, and you will win more games of Warzone guaranteed. Transitioning to our fourth tip, we'll be talking about the best way to keep yourself off the radar and how to remain hidden from UAVs and heartbeat sensors. In order to accomplish this disappearing act, you will need to invest in the Ghost perk and the Cold-Blooded perk. Simply put, the Ghost perk will keep you off the radar when enemies have UAVs in the sky. A lot of people will present the argument, but I want overkill so I can have 2 weapons. And my response to that problem is to pick up other primary weapons off the ground as you frag players and collect their loot. Or another alternative option is to find a loadout crate and get a second class so now you can have both of your desired primary weapons and the perks Ghost and Cold-Blooded. For our second perk, Cold-Blooded, this perk will make you undetectable by AI targeting systems and thermal optics. It does not trigger high alert warnings, and you will still be visible to recon drones, but you cannot be marked by them. The Cold-Blooded perk is mainly used in Warzone players' loadouts to stay off the enemy player's heartbeat sensors and thermal optics. If an enemy player has no idea that you are in a house, you will most likely always win that gunfight when you can surprise them and catch them off guard. The Cold-Blooded perk is the best stealth perk in combination with Ghost to literally turn yourself into a shadow in the Warzone. If you ask any professional Battle Royale player what separates pros from casuals in their respective games, they will always say how players rotate around the map. Warzone is no exception to this common Battle Royale strategy, and this leads us into our 5th pro tip. And that tip is talking about the importance of rotations in the Warzone. Rotations are key for any player who wishes to survive till the final circle and land themselves a spot in the top 5 to get that victory royale. One of the best ways to rotate around the map in Warzone is to find yourself a reliable armored vehicle such as the Jeep, truck, or the chopper. These armored vehicles are the fastest and safest way to transport you and your teammates to the safe zone in Warzone. Now, what do you do if you can't get yourself a vehicle in Warzone? The best way to traverse the map on foot is to not white line to the zone and instead wrap around the circle and find high ground spots to cover your entrance into the zone. White lining, for reference, is when you directly follow the white line on your minimap, indicating the fastest path from where you are standing towards the safe zone. This path on your map is just a suggested quickest way to the zone and not necessarily the safest way. The team that controls the high ground in the final circle will almost always win, because it is a lot easier to shoot at people downhill than it is to do the same uphill. Look for vehicles in high ground when rotating and you will always have a quick and safe path into the zone. Moving into our sixth tip, we will be talking about the best drop spot locations for loot that are relatively unpopular and don't have much traffic on the initial drop from the plane. The first drop spot is Dam. This is a multi-layered drop spot that is relatively untouched by the general community and has plenty of loot to kit out your entire squad. Dam has an upper part that has several houses, a fire station, and a catwalk that will have vehicles and other loot that overlooks the frozen lake. This area is secluded from the rest of the map because it is elevated and has plenty of houses to raid and pillage as you move towards the first circle. The second part of this drop spot is under the Dam catwalk. There is a huge indoor facility with nearby houses that have plenty of loot and cover for you to kit out your entire squad before you move out into the war zone. The second drop spot is Boneyard, and the main benefit to this area is the sheer amount of crates that will be inside the broken plains and inside the surrounding buildings. Boneyard is also right next to the train tracks, which means you have a free ride to the other side of the map when it strolls by after you've gotten done looting the entirety of Boneyard. The last and final underrated drop spot for Warzone is Prison. Prison is a completely isolated area at the very corner of the map. Prison has multiple levels and has plenty of loot for an entire squad of 4 to arm themselves to the teeth. Prison also has multiple buy station locations inside and outside of the complex, which makes it a great initial drop spot for your team to start off in. For our 7th tip, we'll be talking about engaging people within your weapons distance. If you've been playing Warzone for some time now, you will probably have a great feel for what ranges certain classes of weapons will perform the best at. Rifles, LMGs, and snipers are the best for long range, while SMGs, shotguns, and pistols are the best for close range. I see way too many players take fights with people at ranges well outside of the ideal distance for their weapons. Pro Warzone players understand their guns and their loadouts built for them to a science. You won't find a player using an SMG trying to aim duel somebody from across the map. And you won't find an assault rifle player running into a room trying to hip fire spray down multiple people at once. When you go to choose a weapon out of the loadout crates, abuse its strengths and respect its weaknesses. Learn to set up gunfights with people within your weapon strengths and you will almost always kill them in a very quick fashion. If pro Warzone players like Swag, Huskers, and Symphony can have 2+ KDs by respecting how their weapons and loadouts ideally operate, then you can too. And if you respect this, you will reap the same rewards that they do. For our 8th tip, we'll be talking about a topic that many new players struggle with, and that is minimap and spatial awareness. Spatial and map awareness is a skill that comes with time and practice. Getting into the habit of checking around you and checking your map every few seconds is the best way to coach your brain into being aware of what is going on around you. Just like having game awareness, having minimap awareness will allow you to better set up fights with nearby enemies, and having spatial awareness will allow you to defend yourself from enemies that are trying to sneak up on you. I got into the habit of going into game settings and making my minimap as big as possible, and forcing myself to always keep one eye on the map and one eye on my screen. Through many years of practice across several Call of Duty games, I now have great situational awareness of what is going on around me at all times, and I perform much better and die a lot less in game now because of it. Now that both Cold War and Warzone allow for people to change their FOV with a slider, I recommend making your FOV scale as wide as possible to allow you to see the biggest field of view around you while playing. Learning to improve your minimap and spatial awareness combined with having a higher FOV will give you the best results possible in-game. Well everyone, that's all we have for 8 tips to dominate in Warzone. If you liked the video, then be sure to drop a like and consider subscribing if you enjoyed the content. We upload new videos just like this one every single day, and the best way to stay notified of that is by ringing that notification bell. Don't forget to go on ProGuides.com to gain some access to some amazing coaching. Remember to stay safe out there, and I will see you all again very soon.